Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Saturday edition of the College Football and Basketball Roundtable. A lot to talk about today. We have a lot of guests lined up. Going to be starting off with Frank Duffy checking in a few minutes from down in New Orleans. He's down there, been out on an all-nighter. Hopefully he's going to make it back in. Loran Smith, Kevin Scarbinsky. Kevin, longtime sports writer, writes now for the Birmingham Lead, also the CoachSafely.org Foundation, which is doing a lot of work. They're trying to coach or train 80,000 coaches a year for coaching, all youth sports. And bottom line is, it's not about making football, anything other than the great game that it is, but being more aware of injury prevention and coaching and knowing what to look for if a player is hurt. And you can't always have a doctor right there and teaching players how to hit safely and hit smart. But football is always going to be a tough, physical, violent game. You cannot emasculate football. It's not football. So just do everything you can to make it a safer game. And that's why we love it. And Kevin Scarbinsky, Jack Crow, Dr. James Andrews, doing great work there. Top of hour number 2, Buddy Martin, GatorBaitMedia.com, checks in with us from down in the swamp. Actually, in Ocala, Florida. Not the swamp, but Ocala, right next to Gainesville. So a lot to talk about, but batting in the leadoff position is a 6 foot, 187-pound junior from Wrightsville, Georgia.
God, a freshman. I'm on past a freshman, brother.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we've got you. You're a junior now. We'll say from Opelousas, Louisiana, Bayou Lafourche. And let's see if you've been out. And Loran Smith. Now, Lauren's going to be on with us this morning, Frank. And he came on. We had him on here about 7 minutes before airtime. And I know there's a 2-hour time difference out there in Los Angeles, but Duffy, our good friend Doug Dean, just sent me, tell Loran to come on in here. He said to get Loran a good Maker's Irish whiskey going here in the morning to calm his bulldog nerves. But I'll tell you what, Loran has seen a lot of these battles, and Frank, you know what they're like. And a few things will calm your nerves, like a good shot of Irish whiskey in the morning. That'll wake you up in the morning.
I could probably use a little hair of the dog this morning. I'm not gonna lie to you. As you can see down here, there's Jackson Square and there's the St. Louis Cathedral. This is where our party happened here on the balcony, and I could take you into the other room where I set up my bar, and I'm telling you, it looks like a war zone in there. So we had a wonderful party last night celebrating the start of Carnival. It's January 6th, which is called 12th Night. The 12th night is when the three wise men, the kings, went to Bethlehem. It's also called King's Day, but it's the Epiphany. It's the start of our Carnival season here in New Orleans. And we had a parade that came down right down Charter here, came all the way down, and then ended up down by the cathedral, called the Joan of Arc Parade, where Joan gets her sword blessed by the priest at the cathedral. And it's like the kickoff of Carnival. So we had a fun time. We had about 40 people up here at our apartment. I did send you guys y'all's invitations. Y'all did get them. We definitely want y'all to come for one of these Carnival parties one of these days.
I would love to
get y'all down here. So it was a lot of fun last night. Had a lot of great friends. Had some friends came as far away as Texas to be with us, and from Atlanta. So we had a great time.
Well, how can you not have a great time in New Orleans? And bottom line, Carnival, Mardi Gras, the greatest food, drinks, people, New Orleans. That's, here's my point. And when Loran gets on here with us, I want to talk to Loran about the no tailgating. How in the wide world of sports did that happen? That's apparently the College Football Playoff Committee issued that statement that there wouldn't be tailgating. But nobody was talking about it until just this past week. How can you have college football games without tailgating? I mean, people eating brats and, chicken wings and ribs and brisket and drinking and eating and just hanging out with each other. You know how you do that? You have the national championship game in a state like California. Yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly what that's exactly what the college football regular season is. It's such a fabric of the different fan bases and tailgate experiences, and where people go, that to not have it for the college football playoff and the national championship game, it just doesn't make sense. And look, maybe LA, SoFi, that's a difficult place to maybe do tailgating. I don't know. I've never been there for the setup yet. I wanted to go see my boy Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals last year play. Wish I could have, but I remember going out to UCLA when LSU opened up the season right before Coach O went on that shopping spree on Rodeo Drive and lost his job. No, we had a great time. Wait, I got a trash truck. Let me get inside. We had a great time, Rob, out there. We had some awesome tailgating. In fact, we were even joking about it last night. A group of the people that were here at my party actually went all the way out to UCLA and went to Bengal One, where we had our big tailgate at, and they were just talking about it. So yeah, it has to be a part of these games. It really should be, and I'm shocked that college football is not allowing that.
Well, let's say this real quick. Follow us on Twitter at Sidelines_live. We're here 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, talking college football, basketball, baseball, recruiting. We're a college football, basketball, baseball, sports, recruiting, sports radio show and podcast. That's what we do. That's who we are. And we get guys, Frank Duffy, who's a regular on here, part of the team. And we get great guests like Loran Smith, who's part of the Sidelines family. Loran Smith out there in Los Angeles for the national championship game, college football playoff national championship game, hogs and frogs, or as they say in the upper Midwest, hogs and frogs. But Loran, I just got a text from a guy, the ghost of Slim Pickens, and he says, what in the wide world of sports is going on out there in Los Angeles? He's got no tailgating for a college football game. And I think Larry Munson would say the same thing. Loran, what do you got? And those people lost their minds? My goodness, no tailgating. We've got the dogs, the frogs. Come on.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know the detail, but I read where what they want to do is they want to drive business to the shops and stands or whatever they got inside the stadium, so you can get in on the grounds, I suppose, but you can go buy a beer or whatever your preference is somewhere in the confines of the stadium. I guess it's designed to make more money. NFL, Rob, I'll have to say, they find a way to make a buck. And all this streaming they do is amazing. And this is an NFL facility. And we've never discussed this. I do think that while everybody promotes the NFL, like every college embraces it because that's what the kids want.
Yeah.
But you ever think about the fact that the NFL does not one single thing, not one red cent for college football, and we give them a free farm system.
Yeah.
Big League Baseball has to pay for their player development. We do it for them, and we don't fight with all of us have friends in the NFL, but I think it's a great inequitable situation in that the NFL really doesn't do anything for college athletics, and they get that free farm system. There's something wrong about that.
Loran, I agree, and nobody's really brought that up the way you just did so eloquently, and you laid it out and put it in just layman's terms. Then they kind of dropped this surprise on everybody. The college football national championship should have nothing to do with the NFL. And again, that's that caving to these hipsters and these wokesters out there that are trying to make college sports more like pro sports. Let me just say for the record, up here on my soapbox, Loran, remember that character on the Johnny Carson show, Floyd R. Turbo American, that Johnny would go into? I am Floyd R. Turbo American. I won't buy anything. Well, I'll say this. I'm Floyd R. Turbo college football fan. I'm against anything that makes college sports more like pro sports. Separate them. We love the NFL. We love college, but we want them to be separate. You know, people, we don't mix winter and summer. I mean, they're separate seasons. And I hope that a lot of people, when they get out there, start tailgating in the parking lot. Let's see if they can arrest all of them. I think it'll be awesome.
Well, you have to think about the big picture. The total picture maybe is a better category, better characterization of things. When they get these nice new stadiums, they have to make some concessions to the suite holders. For example, the Ohio State-Georgia game at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta last weekend, there were those people who own boxes have access to all other events that takes place. So the College Football Playoff Committee had to know about this, and they had to acquiesce. So there's a reason they do it, and it's not necessarily they're being sinister and being greedy, although I think everything involved with the NFL, that's where greed is rampant. So I understand what they're doing. I just think it's unfortunate for the college football fans because that's so much a part of who we are and what we do. But they're not doing it to be difficult on the difficult for the teams and their fans. But for example, on the plane coming out yesterday, we had all Georgia contingent included all the coaches' wives and their dependents, their kids, and if they had 5 kids, they all get seats on the plane. They get rooms at the hotel. We bring the head coaches of all sports, like my good friend Jeff Wallace and his wife Sabina sat in front of us. They're part of the traveling party. So a lot of costs go into the thing. We bring the Board of Regents. We bring the athletic board. We bring anybody of any significance, the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker of the House, the Governor. So there's a lot of money tied up in the process, and we all do get rewarded. So the College Football Playoff Committee had to know that there'd be no tailgating, had to address it. I can remember years ago when you couldn't bring your own network announcer. The 1980 Georgia game with Notre Dame, the championship game at the Sugar Bowl, Larry Munson was not able to do the game because the contract that the Sugar Bowl had with ABC was that we would take the ABC radio broadcast. And I couldn't give you every step of the process, but that's I got involved. Vince and went to Vince and we need to do something, and we began lobbying to the bowls to lobby to the networks that at least let us bring our own announcer, announce crew. And we did get it changed by lobbying because it didn't hurt ABC, which happened to be the network doing the game. It wouldn't hurt any network to at least let the local announcer or the home team announcer work the game, and that's what eventually worked out.
Yeah, I remember that. And you would hear these generic announcers, usually from the Midwest with that Midwestern twang, and you go, "Where did our guy go?" And I never knew that they had a contract like that. I'm learning a lot right now. And again, the big thing is, and we're going to talk more about this now, the game, Georgia and TCU. And this is a great matchup. And I think you're probably like me. You're seeing Georgia's a 13, 14-point favorite and going, wow, these people must not watch a lot of college football. But then again, there are a lot of tall buildings in Las Vegas for those very reasons. They're good at what they do. But I think Georgia, after what happened with Ohio State the other night, I think that team is dialed in, probably listening to every word Kirby and that coaching staff are saying about going, guys, we've been telling you, we ain't the only good team in this country. and everybody out there is trying to get us. And now we got one more hill to climb, TCU, and they've won more games coming from behind 10 points or more than any team in college football since 1975. So I think Georgia's going to come out. Last week I thought Ohio State would come out with their hair on fire. I think Georgia's going to come out with their hair on fire and ready to just play the best game they probably played all year. That's how I feel this thing's going to happen.
Well, we certainly need to focus on doing our fundamental best, not make mistakes, because you can say this about any game, just a routine matchup. If you don't turn the ball over, if you don't give up big plays, then you've got an advantage. Coaches say that, and sports writers write that, and it's true. But getting the execution that gives you those advantages is easier said than done. Our perspective is we didn't play our best game against Ohio State, but you have to say, well, maybe Ohio State had something to do with that, and they did.
Yeah,
they played so well, and then finally, because I always feel like in recent years that Kirby has often been the difference. He and his coaches. It's just like things with our guy returning the blocked field goal against LSU. They had practiced that the past week. Well, that doesn't mean Kirby Smart's got more savvy and he's more of a genius than the next coach. It just means that he's really on top of things. And if you are, then sometimes you take advantage of the opportunities that you get. Now, that was a gift touchdown.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to us psychologically.
Loran, hold those thoughts real quick. We're going to take a quick station break here and come back. I want to hear that story, and also want to know if you flew out. You must have been on that plane that had the legendary Georgia coach Vince Dooley on the side that Delta did. We'll talk more right after this.
Hey everyone, my name is David Wisdom.
And I'm Shelby McNeil. And we're attorneys with Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short, your local Auburn law firm. Established in 1959, right in the heart of Auburn, Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short has grown in response to our clients' legal needs. We're a full-service law firm focusing on the legal issues our clients face.
We take pride in providing our clients with exceptional legal services, ongoing communication, and skilled representation. If you have any questions about our services, please give us a call or visit our website today.
All right, Rob Browne back with you here on this Saturday, man. We got a great roundtable going. Loran Smith live from Los Angeles, tailgateless Los Angeles, California. Think about that on your next family vacation. Wally World, forget about it. No tailgating, forget about it. Frank Duffy just checked in back from New Orleans. And Frank, I think you were out all night celebrating the beginning of Carnival in New Orleans, and Loran is out there up early as he is every day for exercise and walking and everything like that. But getting ready for this big game, the Hogs and the Frogs. Georgia has a chance to do what 5 schools, actually Stetson Bennett has a chance to do what 5 quarterbacks have done. That is Nebraska's quarterback in 71-72, Steve Davis at Oklahoma, 74-75, I guess. And then you had Matt Leinart at Southern Cal 03-04, A.J. McCarron 11-12, and Stetson Bennett in 21-22. For the SEC's sake, you hope that happens. But I know you got questions, so quickly, Frank.
Well, first of all, I was at the LSU Georgia game in MBS. I'm a big LSU guy. And you're right, Loran. The preparation was totally different. We had some issues with Brian Polian, our special teams coach, for not having the Tigers ready to play that live ball. That was a huge gaffe. In fact, you could even see Brian Kelly was upset with him on another thing that happened in our bowl game, and for the first time was very demonstrative against him on the sideline. So I don't know if changes are coming. Of course, he is one of our recruiting coordinators, so I doubt there'll be a change coming. But, yeah, that was definitely a huge gaffe. And you're right. The whole psychology of that game early on, Loran, switched with that play. LSU had momentum, and it was like the whole air got let out of us, and then, of course, the onslaught was on. I watched the Ohio State game. It was I think it just showed Georgia's resiliency that they've exuded not only the last 2 years, but also throughout the Kirby years. What do you see Georgia has to do up against the Duggan-led offense to kind of stop the TCU offense, and what do you see Stetson Bennett and the offense having to do to put up enough points in a battle against a Big 12 team where normally you need to have a lot of points if you want to win a ball game, and in this case, a championship, back to back?
Well, first of all, we got to get a little better pass rush than we got against Ohio State. Now, some of that, I think we were hurt a little bit by having, and this has been going on for over a month, Nolan Smith. If he were out on the flank, I don't think the quarterback would have been as elusive as he was. But I worried about that because I had a conversation with John Cooper, the former coach at Ohio State, and he says, we don't run the ball. And, our quarterback doesn't run the ball, but we feel like if he needs to, he can. And that's the way it turned out. But I think the thing is that regardless of what you say and do and how much you underscore the right things in coaching, you got to get the execution. And in Georgia's case, I think the weight of being number one is such that we've got to play smart, we got to play sound, we got to play loose. And as I said a moment ago, we didn't really play our best. So that's the position that you hear internally from the coaches. But as you know, how much of that was Ohio State? A lot of it was they just played a peak game. And that quarterback now, he's pretty good. He'll be making somebody smile in the NFL in a couple of years or whenever.
Fantastic. And he played a great game, and you're exactly right. They needed his legs in that game, and never more important than on that last drive. You saw that. I am shocked that they were not more aggressive. I thought a couple of good plays would have been quarterback draws for Ohio State on those last two plays, but Georgia stiffened, made it a 50-yard field goal, and let me tell you, his kick right before that, a minute or so before, it didn't have a pretty trajectory, and I think that got to him. When he hooked it left. So you're exactly right, Loran. I do think that Ohio State was a very formidable opponent. Many people say that really was the championship game, but let me tell you, I watched that Michigan game with TCU. TCU is a talented football team. Georgia representing the SEC in this championship game, they better be ready to play another 60 minutes. And I think Kirby will have them. That's to me the hallmark of a Kirby team. They are prepared and they go the full 60, which I think is a huge credit to him and his staff getting a very talented team. I mean, you can't argue Georgia's talent over the last 5-6 years of recruiting. But he will have them up and ready to play. I mean, how many times do you get the chance of winning back-to-back national championships? It's a rare thing.
Very rare. And, there is a statistical sheet out there showing the difference between 5-star, 4-star, 3-star ratings. Georgia has a dominant edge if you match those statistics up for the two teams. But it all boils down to this: the best team doesn't always win. It's the team that plays the best.
Right.
And Georgia's got to not go to sleep at the switch against TCU. And I would put Kirby, based on my knowledge, and this is a partisan view because I am part of the team, part of the program. I don't think anybody can possibly prepare a team any better than Kirby. He underscores it, and he underscores the right things. And I've just watched him work. He's just got really special qualities. Yeah. He communicates with the players. Now they like him. He has a good rapport. They believe in him. He's a leader. And he'll get on them when there are mistakes, but he really puts the team first, as all coaches do. I think he's got a right formula in terms of communicating with the kids. But that's why everybody's so worried about NIL. You can talk to every head coach in this country of a Power 5 school who's had any success. You worry about kids getting distracted with all that money. I mean, you're talking about a kid making $1 million a year to play college football. Something's not right about that. It's not a moral issue, but something's wrong about it. You don't run a corporation by rewarding the guys at the bottom of the staff, and that's what we're getting to. And kids won't get these now. Didn't I read where Caleb Williams said he's done some sort of essay or planning one on why college football players should be free agents? Well, I can see how a kid would say, I deserve as much of an opportunity to make income as the head coach. Anybody else, I understand that. But there's something about it that causes problems with morale. I mean, you may have you may have fist fights in the locker room one of these days.
Yeah. Well, Loran, let me throw something. I'm gonna throw something at both y'all. Loran, you're nailing it, and you did, Frank. If you're a pre-med student, you're in medical school. Okay, you graduate from Georgia or Auburn or LSU. Well, you graduate undergrad, then you go to medical school, and that's 4 or 5 years, depends on your specialty. Then you do a residency. That's another 5 years. And, residents don't make big money. They make less than teachers. I mean, 35, 45, maybe 50. And then you might do a fellowship. That's another year. I mean, I've had enough. Caleb Williams is the poster child of narcissistic, spoiled, rotten brats. That's why he should not have won the Heisman. That's why Stetson Bennett IV should have won the Heisman. I'm not saying he's perfect. I mean, everybody, the poet John Keats once said, and Loran, you being the great literary scholar, you can bring any man back from his grave and carve him up and find some bad side to him. But dadgummit, Stetson Bennett is the best player in terms of athlete and everything is Bryce Young. But the guy that means the most to his team, to his program, to his university, to his state, and to walk-ons all over the world, and him winning the Brandon Burlsworth Award meant more to Stetson Bennett than it would if he would have won the Heisman in today's climate. But Stetson Bennett, man, what a dream to have that guy as your quarterback. And you're right about Kirby Smart. He's able to get those guys before a game. He contacts every player. You watch him in the pre-games. You see it. You're part of the team. But he's like, squeeze your hand as hard as you can, son. Now squeeze it a little harder because that's what it's going to take to win out there today. And they will play the full 60. But as far as Caleb Williams goes, he got what he deserved coming up short in the game against Tulane. I'm glad Tulane won, and I'm glad he's leaving college football.
Well, I respect your view, but you're old school there, Rob.
Well, but you know what?
We're old school in Simpletown, huh, Rob?
Simpletown. Buddy Martin's going to be on in the second hour, Loran. I thought you were calling in on the second hour because Buddy is the mayor of Simpletown, by the way. And the newspaper it's a penny a day, or you can go big and pay for $1 for the whole year. And the milkman still delivers to the doorstep. The doctors make house calls.
But isn't it refreshing to go back to the old qualities that we grew up with and actually have the gumption and the courage to say that in a world that's literally spinning out of control? And we see this in college football every day. You almost scratch your head and go, how did we get here? How did we get on this slippery slope from student athletes to now with NIL to where it's almost like a semi-pro league? It's amazing how quickly it morphed.
Well, somehow or other, things are in an imbalanced situation, and I've always had faith that we'll find a way to manage, but now I'm worried. But I know Greg Sankey. We had him on our pregame show for the SEC championship game, and he thinks that there'll be a way we can work all of this out. So he is such a powerful figure, and I like it that he has confidence
Good.
that we'll find a way to make this thing work. But it is a simple matter of kids. They know they're in the driver's seat now, and you can't blame them because they're listening to their families. But I know the culture that Kirby has set at Georgia, and I can't speak for any other school, and I can't. I certainly don't think that Brian Kelly, for example, and Nick Saban or anybody else in the league doesn't feel the same way philosophically. And Kirby is basically saying to a kid that wants to transfer, now there's a culture here. We ain't just going to take you if you're going to be demanding on what you're going to get. If you don't, the idea to take a cue from what Rob just said about a med student, come here and get reasonable compensation to enjoy the college experience and get trained for the NFL, and you'll make a lot more. And if you're going to get noticed and you're going to be able to maximize your potential, the pros are looking at you. Are you a team player? Do you have bad habits? They know all of that stuff. Somehow the pros knows if a kid is on drugs. They find a way to learn that information, and that's important to them, not to take a kid who can be a bad egg. So we got to find a way not to let them come to the campus, first of all.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the trick that all coaches are going to have to manage, is to explain, look, come here and get a reasonable amount of money, but be a team player and help us win a championship, and that's going to benefit you in more ways than you can count.
Yes. You know what the number one characteristic, if you look at the Marine Corps, at the Ranger Battalion, SEAL teams, I was in a couple of years as a reporter in Columbus out at Fort Benning. If there was one word, there was one phrase that sums up the Ranger Battalion and the ethos and what they are, it's sua sponte. It's Latin for of your own accord, of your own volition. The other one is honor and truth. You have to trust the people around you. Your life depends upon it. I'm not saying these guys don't go out and pound a few beers and, have a lot of fun. They do. But, man, when it comes time to fight, you want to know the people that are around you, you can trust them. Now, on a lesser scale, I like what Kirby's doing because you come to Georgia, you're already getting a lot for that scholarship. You're getting the top tutors. You've got everything in the world. And it just goes back. What we've done, we've got too many adults that want to be cool and hip and want people to like them. They want their kids to like them. Yeah. Again, I got 4. Y'all each have 2. Our kids probably don't like us. They love us, but if we're tough on them, that's what matters the most. That they go out and they learn how to fight in the world. But I just don't like this attitude that the kids are in charge. Right now they might be, but in my job, in addition to doing this show 6 days a week, I've never seen a wealthy family ever one time in 32 years and counting dump money into an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid's lap. It's all put in age-banded and incentive-based trust to where they have to get a job, graduate from college. There's morality clauses in there. Put those kind of teeth into a contract, Loran and Frank. Then NIL, it'll be different because if they're there just for the money, they're like bounty jumpers. They're going to come to you and take it and go to the next school and the next school. Pretty soon, they're just going to end up with spending a lot of money with a bunch of fake friends, and they're never going to get to the NFL because they have weak character.
Take it and then opt out for the last 2 games or last game of the season as well.
Loran? Well, there's a certain amount of selfishness, and this is an old story, but I think you can hark back to recent times when both Peyton and Eli Manning chose to stay in college their senior year. Yeah. And look how things turned out for them. And that's what Peyton said finally made him feel like he needed to go back to Tennessee for his senior season. He didn't want to look back years later and say, what did I miss?
With regret.
Well, when you're focusing on money, you're going to miss out on a lot. But who has it better than a college athlete today free room and board, free dental, free medical, clothing allowance, travel allowance.
Yeah.
And you don't suffer for anything, but that's really only significant if you're thinking about a degree as well, NFL and a degree.
And as you know,
Can
most of these kids
be
don't go
achieved.
to the. And Lauren, as you know, most of these kids don't
y'all
go
hold
to
these
the-
thoughts. Hold these thoughts. I want to come back because we got a few more minutes after this before Lauren's got to go. But I want to hear this from Loran and you, Frank. Sidelines Saturday, college football, basketball blitz. Rob Browne here with you. Roundtable continues after this quick commercial break from Mildred.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here on this round table. Frank Duffy down in New Orleans in the quarter for an all-nighter and beginning a carnival. Loran Smith live from Los Angeles, tailgateless Los Angeles, site of the college football playoff national championship between the Hogs, the Frogs and the Dogs, as they say in the upper Midwest. Kevin Scarbinsky is checking in with us, coachsafely.org, the Birmingham Lead. Great, legendary, one of the better sports writers you're ever going to read. Always makes you ready to run through the tunnel after you read one of his articles. But Loran, before we go, my wife Audrey made a great point. She's kind of the body language expert, psychology major, and she said you got to make that culture like what Loran Smith said, to where we don't have to take you. And I think about a billboard that I see on the side of the interstate recently about the United States Marine Corps. We don't take applications, only commitments. And so you have to make it to where your program, these guys come there. This is the process. Alabama does it. Georgia does it. Look at the success that they're having, Loran Smith. And you are part of the team. You're a patriarch of Georgia and Southern college football, but you also go bigger than that. You're national. And like I said, if you're out in public with Loran Smith, it's like being out in Times Square with Regis Philbin back in the day. Who loves you, baby?
And Marines are better than mercenaries.
Yeah. Hey, give me a team full of Marines. I'll play anybody.
Yeah, Marines are better than mercenaries.
Loran, what do you got? Quickly.
Well, I think we lose sight of things. I was just thinking about the first time Georgia played TCU, which is in the 1942 Orange Bowl, Georgia's first bowl game in its history. Frank Sinkwich was the most valuable player. He had a total offense of 380 yards in that game, running and passing. That would be great today. But, he played the whole season with a broken jaw. They wouldn't let him on the field today. So they developed a mask to protect him from another hit. But things were different back then. But attitudes were different, too. Frank didn't think anything about other than trying to help his team win a bowl game. And then when I first got to know him, when I got to Georgia, he let a football player, as a friend of mine, use his apartment free because the guy didn't have a lot of money. And even though he was on scholarship, this was a big help for him because Frank let him work in the warehouse. So I went over to see my friend and walked by a room with a stick of furniture in there, and there sat Frank's Heisman Trophy. When I got to know him, I said, Frank, I think if I had won the Heisman Trophy, I'd have it on a pedestal at the entrance to my house. And he says, well, it really isn't mine. It belongs to the University of Georgia. And when we went to New York in 1982, 82 for Herschel, when he won the Heisman, a Heisman official told me when they read the story about Frank giving his trophy to the University of Georgia, that's when they started the tradition of giving one to the player and one to the school.
Yep.
So I think what we're saying is it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what anybody's philosophy is. When you get to a point where making money and making yourself more important than the rest of the players on your team, then you got a problem. And I hope college football will come to some situation where we say, aren't you the greatest high school quarterback prospect? But if you're not going to be a team player, we're going to lose, so we might pass. If we ever get to that status, maybe some sanity can come about.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Loran, for saying that. That story about Frank Sinkwich. I mean, hey, well, that's the University of Georgia's. And, we say we're old school, but we're not. We're just right. And we know it. And everybody out there listening knows damn well that we're right. And, my dad's 94 and he's listening right now, Loran. He's like, man, that Lauren's a youngster, because dad's 94. And Loran, you start off every day with a morning walk. You got a routine. But that story you just told about Frank Sinkwich, and Kevin Scarbinsky's back on with us right now, and about the unselfishness, the team first, the University of Georgia, Frank Sinkwich. That's why we're talking about him 81 years after that game is because of what he did. I wonder how much we'll talk about Caleb Williams' heroic exploits in the Cotton Bowl this year against Tulane versus him talking about me. So Kevin Scarbinsky, jump on in here with us on the roundtable.
Or how much are we going to be talking about his fingernails?
Yeah.
And the rather obscene message on his fingernails. Everything you do is part of your legacy. You don't think about it at the time. And you certainly don't think about it at the time when you're 18, 19, 20, 21. But you're building a legacy. And as you said, you can build a legacy that will last forever in a very positive way, or you can do the opposite if you're a talented player. So it's heartwarming to hear stories like the one Loran told about Frank Sinkwich, and to think of the many players we could all share amazing stories about different individuals, because this is a sport that resonates through generations, and it will continue to do so. Yeah.
And Loran, I mean, you feel free to walk around the cabin now that we're up in the air. I mean, this is that story right there. I'm kind of like, wow, we needed to hear that. That's like, I think people listening on my phone are saying, why do we not hear more about that? Whereas we've got spoiled, rotten brats driving the narrative. That's basically what they are. Because again, I have 4 kids. There's no way under any circumstances you dump money in a 19-year-old's lap. It's not going to change.
Well, and think of the backdrop that was going on when Sinkwich was playing.
World War II.
40s and World War II, and our entire country had to come together, and you had to do rationing, and you had to put the greater good above individualism. I mean, our country right now, it's me. What's in it for me? And if I'm not playing here, I'm not getting paid here. I'm going somewhere else. And I think college football is just a microcosm of what you see in general society right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to bring in 2 points. What would we do? Each one of us address it. If we're really honest, what would we do if we were in their shoes? Would we think the way the Manning kids think? We would think the way Frank Sinkwich thinks? Or would we want to take the money and run? You got to bring that into the mix now, because we're all human. And the other thing is, and I want Kirby Smart to be compensated along the lines of what the other coaches are making. But it's really obscene, that we pay a coach $10 million a year. If you can get it, fine. But the players have a right to say, well, why not us? Yeah. So you can't leave that out of the conversation. And then I think in these terms, a coach making $10 million a year, there might be some professor on campus somewhere doing research in a lab. If he had $5 million a year for 5 years, he might be able to cure something like cancer. He might be able to do something that'd make life better for all of us. So there are a lot of factors involved. I think it's better for the kids that they put some restraint and focus on the team, but human nature is involved here too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great time ago. You can't give the baby as much candy as they want because they're gonna want more. There has to be adults in charge, and especially in this, when you're talking about 18 to 21-year-olds, and especially when you're talking about college football, something that is important to all of us, the sacrosanctity of this game is at stake. And unless we get some leadership and some governance, it continues to be the wild, wild west, and it will slip further and further away from the game that we recognize and the game that our fathers and grandfathers entrusted us with. And that would be very sad.
I think the issue is, but going back to what Loran said, and Frank, using one of your phrases, the adults in the room are the reason that we're in this situation that we are. When everyone else realized that there was a lot of money to be made in major college football, and the coaches started to make it, and the ADs started to make it, and the programs started to make it, and they started to build these Taj Mahals of football facilities, waterfalls in the locker room, or just opulent facilities, and so it was only natural that the players at some point were going to look around and say, hey, wait a minute. Why are those 80 to 90 to 100,000 people showing up on Saturdays to watch the game? Yeah, it's entertaining to see Nick Saban, throw his headset into the turf when he gets frustrated, but that's not why people pay money to go to the games. It's not why they watch on television. They want to see Najee Harris hurdle a guy. They want to see Devontae Smith leap higher than a human should be able to leap in the end zone. Sorry, Frank, in Tiger Stadium to catch a touchdown pass. They want to see Stetson Bennett do what he does. We go for the game itself to see the players do what they do. So it was only natural that they were going to have to be included in this economic windfall that was happening. Now, where I think we can probably all agree is that the details are what maybe has not. Yeah, the details are the issue. How does this system work? How is it structured? The fact that the leaders, and I go to the NCAA, they were way behind the curve on NIL, on players earning money based on their performance or based on their reputation, based on their name, image, and likeness. So if we had better leadership, we'd be in a better place right now.
Absolutely. Well, we had no leadership, and what we had was Pontius Pilate just came out and threw it to the crowd, and the NCAA, no leadership on this thing at all. Loran Smith, you're the elder statesman in this group here, and you're making really great points. I'm all about capitalism. I just say dealing with people and managing their money for a living for a long time. I've never seen a wealthy family ever dole out $10 or $20 million to their teenage kids or early 20s. It's always mid to late 20s. The first chunk comes because that'll wake you up in the morning, an incentive-based trust.
Milestones.
Yeah. If you're gonna wake up every morning and just suck on a Turkish water pipe and get stoned every morning like Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and then you're not getting any money out of that trust. That's what I'd like to see is financial literacy. I think Loran Smith would be great. And Loran, I know you got a big day ahead of you out there in Los Angeles. Before you go, tell us in the next few minutes before we go to the break, and we'll let you go. And again, thank you so much for being on here with us. You got a book coming out this spring. I have a feeling you're going to be writing another book, so I guess you'll be holding up in such.
Or at the very least, there'll be more chapters
But Loran will be holding up in such rough places as Sea Island, St. Simons, Bluffton, South Carolina. The life of Loran is well earned. He gets up at 4:30 every morning, walks, gets his day going. But Loran, what do you got here in the last few minutes here?
Well, you're giving me too much credit. I don't walk as much as I used to. Age has got something to do with it. Weather can be a factor in walking in the morning.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that we should remember, let's manage our problems, because college football can still be the greatest of games. The no tailgating you brought up a while ago, I don't think that is a factor with the NFL, although I've been to tailgating with the New York Giants games and the Cowboys. They do a pretty good job of tailgating on
Absolutely. Kansas City as well.
Yeah. So, we've got a great game, and just don't let greed destroy it. And the only thing that can destroy this game, in my estimation, is greed. But Stetson Bennett, you've mentioned several times. I saw him last night. That is the greatest story there is. I mean, I'd enjoy that story if it happened at some other school, but I just know it so well. I was just in his hometown of Blackshear, Georgia, to do a book signing, and everybody who came through, and the book had nothing to do with him. That's coming, but everybody wanted to talk about him, and the pride that those people in that little town have. That's college football historically. And it's so rewarding because, except for a few, Southern Cal, Pitt, and a couple more, most of the college towns are small towns. Auburn, Tuscaloosa, Baton Rouge is a little bigger, but it's still not a metropolis. And you find these stories so refreshing. A kid comes off a farm. That used to be the way it was. Our kid comes from out of the projects and just has this fabulous rags to riches story. And Stetson has handled it because he really is not an egotistical, greedy kid. He's going to have some options that few kids have. And Fran Tarkington called me yesterday, said, I'm so happy for Stetson, and he's going to have an opportunity to make some money in the NFL. He thinks he can play in the league, that somebody will take him. And the movement of the game now, the offense is more of a moving pocket. He can't stand in the pocket and throw like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, but he can find a way to compete the way they play the game now. So it'll be, to me as a Georgia graduate, a friend of Stetson and his family, I've known them for years. The great thing is that old college story of a kid who grew up playing on an 80-yard football field behind his parents' pharmacy in a little town in South Georgia, and having an opportunity to get to New York as a Heisman finalist. And some of our greatest players, some of our greatest talents won't ever be able to say they played for a national championship twice. And if he were to win it, it'd just be sensational.
It's a fairy tale that needs to make it to the silver screen one day. It really does.
Well, I think that's
one quick question from Maury. Yeah, I do too. One question from Maury Gaston up in Lexington, Virginia at Sigma Nu National Headquarters, sitting out on the porch. He said, ask Loran if Vince Dooley's, the late Vince Dooley, a legend, we love him, his wife Barbara is going to the game, and if you're going to be sitting with her.
She is at the game. I saw her daughter-in-law last night, and they were just in Atlanta. The Delta dedicated a plane, as you probably know, or I've mentioned that earlier, for the team to fly out on. I was not on that plane, but I know about it, and it's hard on her and hard on the family because he meant so much to them as a father and as a husband, not just a successful celebrity coach. but it was nice that Delta did that. So I appreciate them coming up with that idea. Great PR idea.
So cool.
Yeah, it is. Loran, listen, thank you so much for taking time. We went long always, but look forward to hearing next week your stories about this championship game. I think the Dogs are going to do it 34-29, but have a great time in Los Angeles. Safe trip back to Georgia.
Okay, you think I can get some NIL?
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back on the Roundtable. Great stuff with Loran Smith. He'll be out in Los Angeles getting back sometime Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm sure he's flying back, not taking the Hound. Georgia's got the money to fly them all out there. But Frank Duffy down in New Orleans, Kevin Scarbinsky in Birmingham. Doug Dean should be joining us here momentarily. He's going to try to from the deer stand, or if he's down from the deer stand, that must means that Albamus Deerum, the white smoke is coming up. But Kevin Scarbinsky, man, I was thinking of you Monday night watching the football game, and nobody ever knows what can happen. That looked like a normal hit. Of course, there's nothing normal about being hit in college football and the NFL. But coachsafely.org, what all the great work that you're doing to get the word out. It's not about making football soft and taking the teeth out of it. It's about playing and coaching smarter, injury prevention, and knowing what to look for because it's a real game and it has real side effects.
Absolutely. And, the best news of the week has been the incredible progress that DeMar Hamlin has made in his recovery. That he's still with us is due to primarily the incredibly quick, efficient action of the emergency medical personnel there in the stadium. And you saw on full display how important that is, that they have 30 something medical people on an NFL sideline. And they are trained, they are equipped. They had an AED at the ready, an automated external defibrillator. They had resources that you don't find at your local community park on a Saturday morning in October when 8-year-olds are playing football, or in your local gym on a January Saturday morning when kids are playing community basketball. You don't have those resources. What you have is volunteer coaches, a lot, generally moms and dads, who are doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. And, they have full-time jobs. They don't necessarily have medical training. And that's to stepping into that breach was Coach Safely. It's a training course, if you will, for young parents or parents of young kids, I should say, who play sports. Parents, coaches can take the course. It's comprehensive. It's 9 different subjects. And one of those subjects, which we added only a couple of years ago, was sudden cardiac arrest.
Resuscitation. Yep.
Yeah, there's an entire module on that. Well, there's a module on sudden cardiac arrest, what it is, what to look for, what the signs are, and what should you do if, heaven forbid that it does happen to a young person on your watch. And we should note that according to the EP Save a Life Foundation, they're dedicated to sudden cardiac arrest knowledge, prevention, education. 1 in 300 young people have an undetected heart condition that could lead to a sudden cardiac arrest. Yeah. Sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 killer of student athletes. I don't know that a lot of people know that. And that's something where, again, information, education is so important. And again, you cannot thank the people enough, those emergency medical personnel who were on the spot, knew what to do, got it done, and basically saved that young man's life.
And quick and decisive, and they knew exactly what to do. I mean, you didn't see it on TV because obviously they wouldn't show that. But I heard from actually a couple of friends that were in the stands that day, Monday night, that said you could absolutely see it from the stands, what they were doing. They were giving CPR, and it was so fast and so, it was demonstrative in the way that they did it. And without a doubt, that young man is still here with us. By the way, Kevin, you'll be happy to know Miss Benson just made the announcement that the Saints and the Pelicans are going to be donating AEDs all across the city of New Orleans to all of the youth fields, the playgrounds, and the gymnasiums in case this happens here in New Orleans. They just said it about 2 days ago. Because of this act, the awareness that it was brought, they're going to be donating them to all these young, these places where these young children play. And they said not only might it save the life of a child, but many in the fans have this issue as well. It's great when you have a big group that's brought together, that you have these for a grandfather or a father who might have a heart attack or something in the stands. It's a plus all the way around. So out of something that could have been incredibly tragic has come some very good things.
Yeah, what an incredibly meaningful gesture, by an actionable gesture by Mrs. Benson and the Saints and Pelicans. We, of course, who work with kids, we work with youth organizations at Coach Safely. We're so excited when someone recognizes that need at the youth level and provides these kinds of resources that can make a difference, that can save a life. And for people, just again, general education, if you go to coachsafely.org, again, you can take our training course. It takes a little over an hour. But we have a page dedicated to sudden cardiac arrest resources. We have fact sheets that you can download and print. There is an amazing video on there. It shows you how to use an AED. It is basically foolproof. The machine walks you through what to do. It shows you how to do the CPR, the hands-on CPR, where you're doing chest compressions, how quickly to do them. It gives you all the basic details of what you need to know. And also the difference is, Frank, you mentioned heart attacks. There's a difference between sudden cardiac arrest and a heart attack. Correct. They're two different things. A heart attack's more of a plumbing problem, where the way experts put it, and then sudden cardiac arrest is more of an electrical problem. Yep. And if the victim is not conscious, it's more likely it's sudden cardiac arrest. Correct. If they are out, it's more likely that it's sudden cardiac arrest. So check out coachsafely.org. Those resources are available for everyone.
Oh, that I can tell you this: as we grow Sidelines, we're looking for a couple of things to really pump resources into, and Coach Safely, already, because of what you just said. Buddy Martin is on with us right now, longtime sports editor of New York Daily News, Denver Post, St. Petersburg Times, GatorBaitMedia.com, a man for all seasons, the coach and the mayor of Simpletown, USA. Glad to have you on here, kicking off the new year. This is a great topic. We've been talking with Loran Smith, was on the first hour before you came on, and he's out in Los Angeles. But your thoughts on all that we just talked about, and anything else, buddy?
Well, good morning to you guys. First of all, and I can say this because there is no limitations on how many times you can say Happy New Year or when to say it. There's I don't know what the appropriate number is, but I think it's when you see people the first time in the year, it's common to say Happy New Year. So all you guys, Kevin and Frank and Rob, Happy New Year to you. And yes, it's
Happy
such
New
a
Year, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a good time, but we could all go on about the great story that is developed before our eyes in the face of tragedy, which has been remarkable. And I wrote a long rambling column today in Gator Bait about when you're a fan of college football and you're conflicted about what team to pull for. You're an SEC fan, but maybe you're an LSU fan. Can you really bring yourself to root for Georgia? A Florida fan, can you root for Georgia? Alabama, Auburn, etc. It's a little different, I think, and I'm an older guy, so I go with the idea that if you don't have a dog in the fight, you root for the dog in the fight, I guess, right? I mean, what it is, we're SEC family. Now, a lot of Gator fans don't agree with me. They've been beating me up all week long, so guys, I could use a little bit of love today, about that. But it's good. It's a great season, and you probably didn't get the bulletin. I just dropped this. I'm gonna break news right now for you on the show. They almost had to call off the college football championship game on Monday night because it seems like members of the college football committee were all in Washington trying to decide on a Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's funny.
Another vote, number 112.
Well, buddy, I can tell you, this is a much easier SEC team to pull for. I will tell you, there is one that is extremely difficult for us LSU fans to cheer for. That's that team in Crimson. I'm just kind of happy we took care of business in November, so we didn't have to face that again. So I'll pull for the Bulldogs.
Well, you had a great season. I mean, it was a wonderful year for LSU, despite the fact it didn't all work out exactly right. But here's what you got to take away from this, and you guys know this, is that, what is it? How does it stack up for next year? Well, sadly, it's Georgia's game to lose next year. I mean, and here's the other thing. For all you people who can't get used to the idea of the Munchkin winning in back-to-back national championships at Georgia, you better get used to it because he's going to go down. Stetson Bennett, if he wins Monday night, will go down. Sorry, Charlie Trippi and Herschel Walker and all, as the greatest Bulldog ever. And, if you can't get that, Kevin, you can write that one. We all root for stories, right? What a great story, as much as it pains Gator fans and Tiger fans and Tide fans and what have you to say it. This guy has really been an amazing story. And on the same level, get this is heresy. Don't throw things at me, Gator fans. I know you're going to. But you talk about stories, yes, at the level of a Tim Tebow type story.
Wow, yeah.
That's a great way to put it, buddy. And that's why I don't understand it, guys. I don't get the hate that Stetson Bennett still receives from some people. It doesn't, Frank. Even Kirby after the semifinal says he knows he's got to play better in the championship game than he did against Ohio State. Yeah. Georgia's tried to get rid of him, if you will, or not play him ever since he's gotten there.
Hey, Kevin, they threw rocks at him like he's a stray dog. Get out of here. And he kept coming back, didn't he?
Yeah, he wouldn't leave. They tried. They recruited over him. They tried to bring in Caleb Williams out of the transfer portal this last offseason. And he's like a dog. He's got a hold of your leg. He won't let go. And Georgia fans should be eternally grateful for that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it is. It's a Hollywood story. Yeah. I mean, it's a script you wouldn't even believe. That's how incredible this underdog story is for this walk-on kid that might take home 2 national championships.
I'm talking to Loran Smith. You said you had him on earlier. I had him on my show earlier in the week. We talked about this. This is a Hollywood story.
Yeah,
it really is. I said, Loran, I can see you on the set out there in LA right now in Hollywood. This will make Rudy look like chicken feed, this story. So anyway, I'm rooting for the story. I think it's great. If you're a writer like Kevin and I are, if I could put myself in his same sentence or paragraph, maybe I shouldn't. But I think it's a wonderful story. And again, congratulations. Hey, He ain't won it yet now. He ain't won it yet. This TCU team. And I said, it's okay to pull for friends. Like I got friends like Tony Barnhart. I got friends like Loran Smith, et cetera, people. But I also had a guy who was one of my best friends and the greatest sports writer of all time, Dan Jenkins. And he was a TCU guy. And he lived it and he breathed it. We spent more lunches and smokes back when we were toking a cigarette at Winston, talking about college football at the Masters and the Open. And we go, let's go outside. The smoking lamp is lit. Let's talk football. He loved college football, and he got to see his team go to the Rose Bowl and win the championship. And I love Dan so much. I love his writing. So in my heart of hearts, it wouldn't break my heart if TCU won for Dan. But really, I'm an SEC guy, so go Dogs.
Yeah.
Hey,
man, you might not get invited back to the swamp for that.
I've been disinvited before. So
I was going to say.
Hey, buddy, you make a great point, though. If anybody, and I grew up reading Dan Jenkins in Sports Illustrated on college football, and of course, college football and golf, those two sports combined, I don't know that you find anyone that covered them as well and made them as compelling in his work as he did. Go back and read some of his stories about college football. They are priceless. That man was in a class of one.
Really, they were good, well put in. And behind me somewhere in my library, I got all his books. I was blessed to live in Ponte Vedra for a year when Dan was there. We hung out a lot together then. One day he showed up at my house. Get this, I'm not bragging. I am bragging to be blessed. And Dan showed up at my house with a box full of his books one day. You believe that? And said, "Here, I want you to have these."
Wow, that's
dummy
cool.
Me. Did I get him to sign them? No, I didn't. But I got the books and I devoured every one. If you haven't read Fast Copy or Got to Play Herd or whatever, or somebody tough. And by the way, one of the guys who fueled him with a lot of these characters was Loran Smith.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, bottom line, just hearing Kevin and Buddy, Frank and I are just like, I'm taking notes and Audrey's over here just like her head's spinning the same thing.
Audrey's running the show is what she's doing.
But I always say this. That's right. Yeah, she is. And I think about these great writers and Loran Smith being out there since 72, the sideline reporter, now the Georgia pregame show. But it's telling these stories that are told generation to generation. A guy like Dan Jenkins, someone that is a journalism student, they need to know about him. And, I have young guys that are in their early and mid 20s that are on the show. We've got one now, William Halliday is a freshman in journalism writing for the Plainsman at Auburn. We had him on the show with us on the Roundtable one time back in December when he was home for Christmas break, but he's looking for a mentor. And I'm thinking, wow, Buddy Martin, Kevin Scarbinsky, he loves sports writing. I've known this kid's father since kindergarten. His grandparents were the biggest Tennessee fans on the planet, along with the Mongers. They got season tickets now for 100 years to Tennessee games. 100 years. They've never given them up. But he was loving hearing these stories. So to both of y'all, don't ever think, because you're not old. Age is just a number. But don't ever think that your stories aren't relevant, because we talk about in the gospel 2,000 years. I always tell people, it's as relevant today, more so, means more than it ever has. So the great writers is what we need back. And along the line of great writers, Tony Barnhart was on the show last week, and he referenced a story about Stetson Bennett and talking to the College of Business students at Georgia before the season. And there were even people in that audience that said, how can we win a national championship with Stetson Bennett? And Tony was like, come on, guys. I mean, it's because he doesn't fit the narrative. He's not 6'4", 6'5". He doesn't have all that. He's about 5'10". Looks like Jerry Seinfeld when you get down to it. We're going to talk more with Kevin Scarbinsky, Buddy Martin, Frank Duffy, the rest of the free world, and Mildred after this quick commercial break.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the horsepower collection. And they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right. Rob Browne back here with you, and Roundtable continues, and we are broadcasting live Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. And it's got to say, they've got over 700 used cars and trucks and SUVs on the lot, and the service department is open 7:30 Saturday mornings till 12:30. I went out and looked at Brandon, one of the sales reps here. It is new Toyota TSS, the off-road package with the lift kit. Man, if you hadn't seen the 23 Toyota Tundra, that is a man's truck. That is good looking. I've got an F-150 myself. Boy, I tell you what, can't go wrong with either one of them. How do you want your million? In 20s or 50s? It's still a million. Check them out, RedRiverFordToyota.com. They deliver anywhere in the country. Jacksonville, Tahoe, Reno, Vegas, Atlantic City, Dallas, Birmingham. They deliver everywhere, RedRiverFordToyota.com. Man, I love hearing, though, talk about Stetson Bennett during the break. Audrey said, he doesn't look like Seinfeld. She said, he looks like George. And she goes, but don't say that on the air. I'm like, he doesn't look like George Costanza. Come on. He doesn't have a wallet that's 3 inches thick in his back pocket either. But I love hearing these stories. And for Kevin and for Buddy both, the importance of writing. It just keeps getting more important that you all come out with your stories. The Birmingham Lead, GatorBaitMedia.com. I'm telling you, everybody that's listening and watching, and we're blessed to have a growing, large audience on a lot of platforms. If you love sports, you know what? It's like, if you want to stay in shape, you got to work out. You got to exercise. If you love sports and you want to know what's going on, you can't just get it off of sound bites on TV, 8-10 second sound bites. You got to read. That's the same thing as running 5 miles or swimming 2 miles or lifting weights with your brain. Read these guys, people, because otherwise, as Paul Harvey would say, you're not getting the rest of the story.
Yeah. Speaking of stories, I'm sorry. I wanted to bring up one other one. We talked about the wonderful story of what happened in Buffalo and Damar Hamlin. And by the way, that phrase that he uttered, "Did we win?" That shit, when he woke up from the coma, that should be like plastered all over the stadium. Did we win? You talk about the consummate teammate and a guy who cares about it. Here he is coming back from the dead, literally. And the first thing he says, did we win? I mean, that is epic, incredible. And what a wonderful story that was, and makes us all feel good. On the other hand, there was another story. Maybe you guys can keep me informed what happened to Peyton Hillis, which people in Arkansas remember from that great backfield they had, that team. And they played, of course,
Conway.
And the fact that he was, I guess he was about 40 years old, or 36 years old. Anyway, Peyton Hillis we all remember from the SEC. And then I don't know the whole story, but he apparently rescued his children from drowning. And now he's in critical condition himself. I mean, man, thoughts and prayers to that. I haven't heard any updates if anybody's got one out there in Arkansas, but man, it's just always breaks your heart to hear a story. Here's a guy who went to save his children and all, and it might cost him his life, which I'm sure he would gladly lay down, as many of us would. But that's an amazing story.
Well, Peyton Hillis from Conway, Arkansas, home of the Wampus Cats, and my friend Tim Horton, played there. He's a proud Wampus cat. Tim, of course, coached running backs at Arkansas. Kevin, you probably knew him. He's on the staff at Air Force Academy now, and his father, Harold Horton, from over there. But Peyton was one of the guys that Tim coached at Arkansas in that great backfield with that great backfield with Felix Jones out of Tulsa and Darren McFadden out of North Little Rock. But I'm in Wynn right now, so I'm trying to find out anything that I can. I just texted Tim to see if he knows anything. But wow, man, Peyton Hillis, you're right. That's a man. I mean, and buddy, you're telling that story. And Kevin, I tell you what I love when y'all are on here. Feel free to just take over, because it's about engaging the guests and getting the ball in your hands. And I'm all ears to hear what other stories y'all have, because we don't know until you tell them.
Well, okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, buddy. Yeah, we all as parents.
Here's something about.
Go ahead, Rob.
So here's something about Peyton Hillis. I just got. Yeah, sorry about that to interrupt you. This just came from Tim Horton. Per Peyton Hillis's cousin said he was going to be okay with a question mark, but we don't know what okay is. But hopefully that is a good sign. And I apologize for the interruption, Kevin.
No, it's good news to hear. We I was going to say, as parents, we all like to think that we would risk our lives for our children. Rarely are we ever put in that situation, and Peyton certainly was, and he did, and so everyone's thoughts and prayers obviously are with him and with that family, that he can live a long and healthy life with those children, watch them grow up, watch them become parents, and he become a grandparent. So again, just another inspiring story. We've seen a couple of them in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to mention, a couple of sad stories as well. And I'm sure you guys are aware that Liz Slive, the longtime wife and companion of Mike Slive, the former SEC commissioner, she passed away last week, and I attended her memorial service on Monday. What an incredible lady. And you talk about opportunities that you have along the way to meet just amazing people. And really, and I think, Buddy, you would vouch for this, that's a big part of why we do what we do, why we have done what we've done for as long as we have, is that an opportunity to meet amazing people. And Mike and Liz's daughter, Anna, last summer, and I've gotten to know her through the Mike Slive Foundation for Prostate Cancer Research, through my own experience with prostate cancer, and Anna's a wonderful person herself. And it is amazing in retrospect. She asked me to sit down with her mom and just let her tell me stories about her life with Mike Slive. Not for a book, not for public consumption, but for the family to have those memories, for their granddaughter, Abigail, who Mike doted on and Liz doted on, to have those memories. And so on 10 different occasions from August through early December, I sat down with Liz Slive. And if I could, I shared a couple of those stories with with Anna's permission, in a piece I wrote in tribute to Liz in the Birmingham Lead last Monday. But what an incredible lady, what an incredible relationship that she and Mike Slive had. And you always hear about the better half and the person behind the power. They were so well suited for each other, and a combination of incredible intellect and the biggest heart you could find in a human being. Mike had it, and so did Liz. And so I wanted just to kind of remember her and encourage people to read my piece from last Monday again, just to hear a little bit about Liz. She was funny, right to the end. Our last visit in early December, she had a great sense of humor. There were certain coaches in the SEC she wasn't fond of based on her husband's interaction with them through the years. But yeah, what a wonderful woman. And so we lost her. And then Ruth Bartow, Gene Bartow's wife, the first lady of UAB athletics. In fact, after the show, I'm going to be heading to her funeral service. She passed away the other day. And again, just two incredible women. We don't talk enough about the wives, the moms in sports. And Liz Slive and Ruth Bartow were two of the giants in that perspective.
Your
Yeah, well
discussion
said.
with us live was almost an off the record Tuesdays with Maury.
It really was. It really was, Frank. And again, just her memory. I mean, her memory was so sharp. You know, back to the day she and Mike first met. Mike was a freshman at Dartmouth, and Liz, he was from upstate New York, but he'd never been to New York City. And Liz was a city chick, by her own description, who grew up in Brooklyn. And Liz's older brother was a freshman at Dartmouth, friends with Mike. So Liz's brother brings Mike home for a visit, and they did. This was like out of a movie. They rode the Staten Island Ferry. They went to Coney Island. They ate Nathan's hot dogs. Every New York movie moment you can think of, they enjoyed that day. But what Mike didn't know when they met was that Liz was 13. Mike was 18. And Liz told me she probably knew more about life than Mike did at that point, because having grown up in Brooklyn.
Being a New Yorker. You're exactly right.
Yes.
Hey, that's right out of a Bobby Darin song.
Yes.
I heard you on Feinbaum, Kevin, talk about your story, and I was very interested in that. And you're so right. So many of the good stories the women remember and tell, and incidents. I remember one of the most powerful times I ever had in my life was way back before there was the SCCB days. There were Skywriters in Silver Springs, where the SEC coaches would gather, and late night be drinking some whiskey and playing cards. I sat at the table with Mary Harmon Bryant, playing poker with her, the queen of Alabama sports. You know, Bear was off drinking whiskey or something, or whatever. But just to be in her presence for that time, I was so stupid. But I wrote a column about it. I was so impressed with her. I think it might have been the first award I ever won, was with Mary Harmon Bryant. But you're right. The women, the keepers of all the stories and whatever. And good for you for having the time to go sit with this person. And she just wanted her grandchildren to hear about this. And I didn't know her, but obviously she was special. And the good storytellers recognize that. And good for you, Kevin, for telling that story.
Yeah, very nice.
Well, it was fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
To hear her memories. Like I said, she would comment. I would ask her about different coaches, you know, her memories of their relationship with Mike and Mike's feelings about them. And, you know, just one short snippet, you know, Mike and Bruce Pearl were close. They're both of the Jewish faith. And when Bruce wasn't forthcoming with the NCAA when he was at Tennessee and was fired there, Mike was very, very personally hurt that happened. But they did reconcile, and Mike gave his blessing to Bruce coming back into the league at Auburn. And again, just to hear that in Liz Slide's words was very, very powerful. And I'll always treasure those 10 afternoons that we visited. That was a very special time.
I think that's your book, 10 Afternoons. Let me just read this if I can. Hillis, this update, as you said, involving a swimming accident in Pensacola. Airlifted to a nearby hospital, unconscious in the ICU Thursday night. Greg Hillis, I think the same person I'm Peyton's uncle, posted on Facebook Thursday. Peyton was improving but remains in intensive care. Quote, I just wanted to let everyone know on Razorback Nation that Peyton is doing better. He's still in intensive care, having some problems with his kidneys and lungs, but doctors say he's improving. I wanted to head off any rumors that may have started. I'm sure he would want everyone to know he appreciates all the prayers that are being thrown up on his behalf. As my wife said when we had the update yesterday on Damar Hamlin, boy, it is incredible what the power of prayer can do.
No doubt. And you could sense it on Monday night.
Did y'all notice that? Yeah. Monday night, there was not any of this, our thoughts. I loved it. There was prayer. I mean, as an Irish Catholic, Scotch-Irish Catholic myself, Kevin's Catholic, Frank's Catholic, and doesn't matter. Prayer. It's not, and I always like to say this. Father Sachi at Mass one time at St. Louis, he's down in Venice, Florida right now. They moved him, but he was from India. He used to say, prayer is not like going to the grocery store to get something. Like, I'm going to pray because I need something. He goes, try to have a constancy in prayer, always. But I saw Monday night that power of those players and everybody there. man, it is real. It's tangible, and you can feel it. And I got to say this about the women.
Next day, Dan Orlovsky with
Mary Harmon,
ESPN on air. That's incredible. I mean, that was an incredible act, and how wonderful. And you can't tell me that prayer didn't have something to do with this young man and his recovery. You couldn't tell me that.
Absolutely.
I saw it. I watched it. I felt it. I saw my son, my 24-year-old, hit his knees literally 5 seconds after we were watching that play. We were watching it up in my theater together, and he immediately started praying and prayed for about 30 minutes for that young man. They're both the same age, both 24. And that was probably happening in living rooms all across America.
Like you said, Frank, you could feel it.
And
you could feel the power. You could feel that night watching the aftermath, and when we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. His life was in the balance. Yeah. He had to be resuscitated before they could take him to the hospital.
A totally different thing.
And the look on the faces of those players.
That was it right there.
You know, the biggest, strongest young men in the world, and they were broken.
Sure.
They were as down as you can. I mean, the tears, the look, just the incredibly crestfallen looks on their faces. I mean, it broke your heart just to watch. And I think it pulled us together as sports fans, as a community, if you will, if we can call ourselves that. I think it was a great moment because we were all on the same team.
Yeah.
From that moment,
we were all Buffalo Bill fans at that point.
And wonderful job by Cincinnati and their fans and their stadium and their administration and their hospitals. They took care of that young man and still are today. So that's again, it's a brotherhood.
That's the beauty of sports and football. And you're right, Kevin. You nailed it. It was the look on their faces. Yep. I was on the air with Shane Matthews at the time, and I couldn't see my TV. I was on the air at night, and this is all going on. And I'm thinking he's talking about somebody being hurt. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Yeah. But as soon as I saw the looks on the faces of the players, we've been around football players all of our life. We know what they look like, what games feel like, and we know what injury looks like. And we've seen drama and whatever, but this was different. There was like shock and grief, and I mean, they couldn't dealing with two things. Number one, three things actually. We talked about these guys live with these players. They are with them more than they are their own family, so they're very close in the locker room. Secondly, the shock of saying, "What happened there? He died on the field. His heart stopped.
Yeah, he did. Yep."
And that assistant athletic director gave him, resuscitated him. What a hero! There are many, but that was the shock, and then the vulnerability that suddenly these big, strong guys felt like that could be me. I could be dying right there on the field. The helplessness. So, and it was a great response and a really great thing they've done in Buffalo. As you know, all they've been through with it, all the mass murders and the snowstorm problems and what have you. Buddy,
hold that thought.
I'm through with
hold those thoughts.
Yeah.
Hold that thought because I want you to continue when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, back more for the final segment on Saturday's Roundtable Sidelines.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House Equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Frank Duffy had to go. He's got to go out there and I think direct yet another parade and party in the quarter in New Orleans. But got to make a correction. Audrey really gave me an earful during the break. Frank, we all want to come back as Frank Duffy, but Audrey said, please, for the record, correct it. I was not saying that Stetson Bennett looks like George Costanza. She was just saying he doesn't look like Jerry Seinfeld. So he looks like Stetson Bennett, but he's not George Costanza. But I got a text just now from, Dr. Waller May, friend of mine for 40 years from Tuscaloosa. He's out in Whitefish, Montana, vacationing for the week. And he just sent a text, said, so true, the power of prayer, don't discount it. And again, we go back to sometimes time stands still. It just stops. And that's what it was like Monday night. And I can't ever remember seeing that happen, but y'all both know that we all remember the Auburn Ole Miss game, October of 2009, when Zach Etheridge collided with, I believe it was Rodney Scott from Armwood High School in Seffner, Florida, running back for Ole Miss, who was committed to come to Auburn. But then when Gene Chizik came in, he ended up going to Ole Miss. They collided on the field in 2009. And I think Zach Etheridge lay on the field for 10 minutes or so. And it was to the point where the Auburn coaches were afraid. Some of them, I know someone who heard them say they weren't sure if he was alive. And you remember that scene. And I've always said, when I see Dr. Andrews at Auburn go out on the field, somebody's hurt seriously. But I think you remember that, Kevin, that Auburn Ole Miss game in 2009. That was really scary.
Yeah, you do remember those. I to be honest, Rob, I don't remember that moment in particular, but I've been to games. I can remember the 04 Auburn Georgia game, and I can't remember it was an incredibly vicious but clean by the rules of the game hit from an Auburn DB on a Georgia receiver, and it was one of those moments that
Junior Rose Green.
That's it, Junior Rose Green, and you were frightened for the young man who had suffered the blow, and you were praying that he would get up first of all and be okay. So yeah, that's the risk that those men take.
The moment I remember the most,
and that was the player he hit was
Sorry, I just want to say we all have those moments like that. We think, well, what was the moment that was the scariest that you saw? And we've all seen them. And we see guys get carried off. And back in the day, they give them smelling salts and say, get on back to the bench. But the bottom line is that the one moment, the most dramatic for Gator fans, was the year Tim Tebow went down in Lexington. And here's Superman. I mean, literally Superman, the biggest, strongest, most powerful guy on the face of the earth. Ultimately, that, the warrior, the brave heart face and all the things, who was knocked down and hit by his own lineman, friendly fire. The sight of him being hauled off on a stretcher and going to the ambulance in the back and being rushed to the hospital at the University of Kentucky, it was traumatic. It was in the fourth quarter, and my son, we were working together at the time in the Gator country and doing video, and he says, "You want to go to the hospital?" We got to. I mean, we don't know where else to go. What do you do, Kevin? You got to trace the story. See, I mean, this guy goes in a coma and never. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is back before we had all the great social media tricks we have. So we went to the hospital and we roamed around the hall. So they kicked us out and said, "You guys can't be in here." So they kicked us outside. We went outside to the lawn. We thought, well, we'll do a stand-up because we were doing a little bit of video online. And from the hospital, I said, "No, you got to go over there. You can't be on the property." So we went over to the corner. It was probably 1:30 in the morning, long day. And my son turned on his camera, and I just did a stand-up. We're here behind me is the hospital. Tim Tebow went there, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 minutes, whatever said. And we posted it, which took a long time to post. Obviously, it went viral. And the next morning, I had so many messages saying, buddy, it's 4 a.m. Where are you? How come you're not there? And they expected me to be there all night, giving them updates on Tebow, you know. As it turned out, he stayed over and he went home and he was okay. But those moments when you have that you realize this is human frailty and we are people and we are subject to injury and harm and death even. It's a sobering fact, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It is, buddy. And it makes you, or at least for me, and I think probably for a lot of folks, it makes me respect what those young men do all the more. Because as I mentioned, they know there is risk involved. It's not a contact sport. Who was the writer who said it's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport.
Collision sport, right. It might have been Dan Jenkins, but it sounds like something.
Well,
right.
you think about
happen.
Well, Ben Troop,
when it does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, buddy, you hooked us up with your friend Ben Troop, who's become our friend on this show, Gator All-American, 5 years in the NFL. Ben quoted a few weeks ago, he said, NFL is a collision sport. Mm-hmm. And it's getting more like that in college. And I go back to that 2004 Auburn-Georgia game when Junior Rosegreen out of Dillard High School, it was a clean hit across the middle. And the receiver for Georgia, I believe, was Reggie Browne, a wide receiver, 6'1", 185 out of Carrollton, Georgia. Carrollton Trojans, home of Sam Haney and a whole bunch of other Sigma News. But that he laid there for about 10 minutes. Again, the Zach Etheridge, had a friend who was a manager on the team that day. And, you don't want to know what was said on the heads. It was scary. He called me, said, man, we were terrified. Zach Etheridge, by Tuesday, was back, in the team meeting rooms. He's now, of course, a coach on the staff at Auburn, but he had a strained neck muscle. But I remember Ole Miss's coach at the time, Houston Nutt, reached out and they talked. But it was incredible to hear Rodney Scott, the running back for Ole Miss, say that he laid there because he knew something wasn't right. And they said possibly had he moved, it could have been catastrophic for Zach Etheridge. And that's why, buddy, Kevin's organization, Coach Safely, put the word out. I don't want to wait till we're about to go off the air and you miss it, because I am so grateful, and Sidelines is, for y'all taking the time to join us. We want to get the word out about what both of y'all do and all of our guests, because it's a team. It ain't about individuals. It's about the team. But get the word out, because I have more and more people going, how do I get this class? How do I do this? I want to go to this dinner. I've got people going, I want to buy a table for next year. So, Kevin, again, this is, without it, we don't have a future, because kids will be discouraged from playing football and other sports. So CoachSafely.org is the tip of the spear.
Absolutely. And let's bring it back to another recent example in the college football semifinal between Georgia and Ohio State. That play at the back of the end zone, Marvin Harrison Jr. for Ohio State, he's reaching for the ball. The Georgia DB arrives at just in the nick of time to deliver a hard blow, but again, by the rules of the game, appeared to be a clean blow. You can argue whether it was targeting or not. It wasn't called targeting. But I gained more respect for Ryan Day and his staff. Marvin Harrison Jr. was hit hard. We don't know if he sustained a concussion or not. Only a medical doctor can make that evaluation. But he came out of that medical tent on the sideline. He wanted to go back in. They would not put him back in the game. This is the biggest game of the year for some of those guys, the biggest game of their lives. They put Marvin Harrison Jr.'s health and safety first, above winning. And that is you think that's an easy decision? It is not. And they made the right decision for that young man. And that's what we talk about at Coach Safely, player safety. And every coach that's endorsed us, from Nick Saban to Bill Clark to Bruce Pearl, I can go on, says the same thing. At every level of the game, from Pee-wee to the pros, player safety has to come first. Because as Buddy said, these are human beings with lives ahead of them beyond football. And so we've got to take that into consideration. So that's what Coach Safely was created to do, by Coach Jack Crow, longtime SEC coach, assistant at Auburn, former head coach at Arkansas, coached at a number of places across the South. Jack has a heart for children and for coaches. And he and Dr. James Andrews, who's the medical director for Coach Safely, if you want to know about the credibility of the information you're getting in the course, and Dr. Jimmy Robinson from the University of Alabama, their longtime team physician, he also was instrumental in building this course. It is the standard in injury recognition and prevention. It is 9 subjects, 11 video modules. It takes you a little more than an hour to complete the course. You will get a good, solid, basic course of information on a variety of things. You'll learn about emergency action plans, planning for things like Monday night with Damar Hamlin. They knew what to do, as we mentioned earlier. They knew what to do. They knew when to do it. They knew who had what responsibility. And because they acted quickly and efficiently, they saved that young man's life. They brought him back to life after because he had to be resuscitated. We need to arm ourselves with that knowledge. If you're coaching kids, you need to be as informed and educated as possible. You can do so at coachsafely.org. There are other resources on there. Like I said, there's a page of sudden cardiac arrest resources, fact sheets. You can download and print a video you can watch, how to use an AED, how to do chest compressions. We can all do it. Kids can do those things if they're trained, if they're educated. So we urge everyone, get educated, take this course, have that knowledge, and feel better. Be reassured that when you put your child in a coach's hands at the age of 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, that coach is trained to keep your child safe.
I just want to say, Kevin, you're a good reporter.
You can't say it in better. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I want to say, Kevin, you missed the lead there. Don't you know what really happened in the end zone? That Kirby Smart ordered that that blow on him so he could knock him out of the game. I heard it on the Feinbaum show when you were on. Some guys say, hey, this is all planned by Kirby Smart. They want to knock this guy out of the game. This is why sometimes I'm amazed at the delusionality is not a word, but that's what it is. I mean, of some of the fans, God bless them. We love them, but please, folks, everything is not a conspiracy. So I want to
way, hey buddy, imagine the next level brilliance of Kirby Smart to know that under duress that the Ohio State quarterback was going to throw that ball, trying to throw it away. It looked like, I don't know if he saw Harrison but that he was going to catch that ball. It was going to be a touchdown. And the defensive back reacted in real time and hustled as much as you can hustle to get there to break it up. I mean, we all let our emotions get the better of our intellect at times, particularly over the sport of football. That's certainly a prime example of that you mentioned.
Like Kevin, I'm a reporter and I got bigger things to look into. Like I want to know, how did it get to be so many Cheez-It bowls? Okay, that's what I want to know. Every time I turn on the TV, another Cheez-It bowl.
Yeah, there were like 3.
And how can I want to turn a room in my house into a Cheez-It room?
Yeah, I want some of those talking crackers.
I got so excited. I got so excited and inspired watching the Cheez-It Bowl when Brian Kelly was picking them up off the field and eating them. So I went up to the Friendly Market up on the corner, and they were out of Cheez-Its. I was like, wait a minute. I'm watching the Cheez-It Bowl. They said, well, we had a run on Cheez-Its and Big Scoop Frito chips. You cannot find them anywhere in Eastern Arkansas.
Well, you got to dip them in Duke's mayo. Dip them in
both of y'all.
Be sure and dip them in Duke's mayonnaise. Okay.
Man, I mean, I can't even think about the mayonnaise after watching that. But both of y'all, I mean, what we're saying, I'm getting a lot of comments from different friends of mine that are doctors, and they're all saying this discussion is so apropos to what's going on, is that quick training and the reaction of that quick strike team out there saved the life of Hamlin. I mean, it's just powerful, because if you can reach people and buddy, if you ever have Kevin on your show talking about this coachsafely.org, I went to the dinner August 22nd in Vestavia Hills Country Club, and it was absolutely packed. And we're putting the word out in every way possible that we can. But the people that were there, let's just say, it was like being at the Oscars or the Grammys, at the who's who of the influencers of college athletics. And who would think, but the night of the event, remember, Kevin, Dr. Andrews was leaving Gulf Breeze to fly up on his plane on the tarmac, ready for takeoff, and he had to go back and do a surgery on one of his NFL players, I believe, had been injured. That is devotion to the cause. But, man, Dr. Andrews, Jack Crow, and you, and then, of course, Lou Holtz and Paul Feinbaum were there. Paul Feinbaum, what do you call him, buddy? He's like a pinata. Everybody likes to beat up on him, but I don't really know him. I've met him a couple of times. Yeah. He went to my high school, Christian Brothers High School, finished at White Station, but that guy, he's kind of like David Letterman, guys. I mean, I would love to see him take on that role because he's pretty dang funny.
Well, he's actually
and then when he listens to some of those callers like they were the other day.
Oh, yeah. By the way, and I'm a friend of Paul's, and I'm a big admirer. I don't mind telling him when I disagree with him. And every now and then he comes on my show, and but I see Kevin and other people like that on his. He is really quite a special thing for us. I mean, think if we didn't have Feinbaum in the afternoons, what would our life be like in football? I mean, it's been a southeastern treasure, at least, if not a national treasure. And Paul is the greatest. You remember the rope-a-dope that Ali did? He's a rope-a-dope every day. He gets beat up by the same people and keeps coming back for it. I'm telling you.
Well, buddy, look, I've seen Paul in two situations that people don't normally see him in that show you what an incredible person he really is. Mm-hmm. And Rob, you were there for our Coach Safely fundraiser. It was a conversation between Lou and Paul. Paul slid back into the background essentially and let the spotlight be on Lou, let Lou tell his stories, led him to water, led him to drink, to deliver his one-liners. And Paul basically put his own light under a bushel and let the light be shined on Lou Holtz. That said something about Paul. And then at Mike Sly's funeral, Paul delivered the eulogy. That was Paul Feinbaum's finest hour. It was as perfect a memorial to an individual as I've ever heard. It was funny and sad and moving and touching, and he hit every point, touched every emotion. That was Paul's finest hour. All of the other good things he's done, that was amazing. To witness that at Temple Emmanuel in Birmingham, it was special.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. I'm going to share the context.
Yeah, and we've run out of time, unfortunately.
So take 2 seconds. Feinbaum texted. I texted him. The Nobel Peace Prize Committee called Paul. You won 2 of them because of what happened. And he wrote back, I accept. Because he got beat up so bad last week.
He was amazing. Both of y'all, thank Yeah, and listen, thank you all so much for sharing these stories. You can't get any better. This is like having John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page and Zeppelin back together when y'all are on here. Great show, everybody.